In a wide green valley, where a slow river curled like a ribbon between the hills, there lived a small village of round houses with roofs of straw and walls of woven branches and clay. Smoke drifted lazily from their roofs each evening, rising into a sky just beginning to soften into orange and violet. This was a peaceful place. The people here grew barley in gentle fields, kept sheep on the hillsides, and fished from the slow river using nets woven by careful hands. In the evenings, when the work was done, they would sit together outside their round houses, sharing bread and listening to the wind moving through the tall grass. At the edge of this valley, where the land rose into soft rolling hills, stood a circle of great stones. They had stood there longer than anyone could remember, taller than 3 men, gray and quiet, arranged in a wide, perfect circle upon the hilltop. The people called it simply the Circle. No one alive could say exactly how the stones had come to stand there. Some said the old ones, their grandparents' had dragged them from far away across rivers and hills using ropes of twisted hide and rollers of smooth wood. Others said the stones had always been there, older than the valley itself, older than the river, older than time. But everyone agreed on one thing. The circle was watched over, and its keeper, on the night this story begins, was an old woman named Wren.
Wren was not the oldest woman in the village, though her hair had long since turned the color of morning frost. She had tended the circle since she was a young girl, taught by the keeper before her, just as she now hoped to teach someone after her. Her task was simple and slow and quiet, much like this story. Each evening, as the light began to fade, Wren would climb the gentle hill to the circle, carrying a small clay bowl of water and a bundle of dried herbs. She would walk slowly around the stones, one full circle, brushing her fingers lightly against each one as she passed. She was not in a hurry. She was never in a hurry. The stones had waited thousands of years, and they would wait patiently for her slow, careful steps. As she walked, she would speak softly, not to anyone in particular, just quiet words into the evening air, thanking the stones for standing so long, for watching over the valley, for keeping the sky and the earth gently connected. The villagers believed the stones marked something important, the turning of the seasons, the slow path of the sun and moon across the sky. On the longest day of summer, the first light of morning would fall exactly between 2 of the tallest stones, lighting a narrow path across the grass. On the shortest day of winter, the last light of the setting sun would do the same in the opposite direction. It was Wren's task to notice these things, to watch, to remember.
There was a boy in the village, no older than 10 summers, named Fen. He had a curious mind and quiet feet, and he often followed Wren partway up the hill in the evenings, staying just far enough behind that she pretended not to notice him. One evening, as the sky turned a deep, soft orange and the swallows dipped and turned above the barley fields, Wren stopped on the path and looked back at him. "You may walk beside me tonight, Fen," she said gently, "if you can walk slowly." Fen nodded and matched his small steps to her slow, even pace. They climbed together in comfortable silence, the grass swishing softly against their legs, the evening air cool and smelling faintly of wood smoke and damp earth. Above them, the first stars were beginning to appear, faint and scattered, like seeds sown across a dark field. When they reached the circle, Fen looked up at the great stones, taller than he had ever noticed before, standing silent and still against the darkening sky. "Why do the stones stand here?" he asked quietly. Wren smiled and sat down slowly on the cool grass at the center of the circle, patting the ground beside her for Fen to do the same. "Long, long ago," Wren began, her voice low and slow, like a stream moving over smooth stones. "Before your grandmother's grandmother was born, the people of this valley noticed something.
Every year, on the same night, the sun would set in exactly the same place on the hill, and every year, on a different night, it would rise in exactly the same place on the other side. Fen listened, his eyes heavy already, watching the deep blue sky above the stones. The people wondered at this, Wren continued. They watched the moon grow full and shrink to nothing and grow full again, over and over, like slow, gentle breathing. They watched the seasons turn, the cold months when the fields slept beneath frost, and the warm months when the barley grew tall and gold. They wanted to remember it all, not just for themselves, but for their children and their children's children. So they began to place stones, one for the longest day, one for the shortest, one for the turning of each season. Slowly, over many, many years, more were added until the circle stood complete. It is not just stone, Wren said softly. It is memory. It is patience.
Do the stones ever move? Fen murmured sleepily. Wren smiled in the darkness. No, little one. The stones do not move. It is the sky that moves, slowly, endlessly above them. The stones simply wait and watch, just as we do. Above them, the sky had turned fully dark now, scattered thick with stars, more stars than Fen could ever hope to count, soft and silver, blinking gently like the embers of a dying fire. The stones have watched 1,000 winters, Wren whispered, her voice softer now, almost a lullaby. 1,000 summers, 1,000 slow sunrises, and 1,000 slow sunsets. They do not hurry. They do not worry. They simply stand, patient and still, and let the great slow turning of the world happen around them. Somewhere far below in the valley, the village had grown quiet too. Fires had dimmed to soft orange glows. Sheep had settled into the grass. The slow Wren sat a while longer beneath the great stones, listening to the boy's soft breathing beside her and to the gentle sounds of the sleeping valley below, the whisper of wind through barley, the distant slow call of an owl, the endless murmur of the river. She thought of all the keepers before her, sitting in this very spot, beneath this very sky, listening to these very same sounds. She thought of all the keepers who would come after, long after she was gone, long after Fen had grown old himself, long after even his grandchildren's grandchildren had lived and grown old. The stones would still be standing, patient, silent, watching the same slow sunrise